Well, good evening, YouTube. It's me again. We have just finished celebrating my husband's 51st birthday. We did a Mardi Gras theme. We ordered a king cake all the way from New Orleans, which was delicious, and we have not yet located the baby, so we don't know who has to buy the next one. And then we had these guys, a little plastic crawfish, which were all over the house, and the kids adore them, and so they have been playing with them, and now they're on a mission to find all the little crawdads all over the house. So it's been a very fun evening, and I decided that now would be a great time to come talk to you guys about our next Kingdom melody. I'm still working on Ask Sister Fister number 3, so I've got some great questions that I'm trying to make sure that I have the best answers for you. Without further ado, let's talk about today's Kingdom melody analysis, which is one of the old least favorites for me. I think for everyone, actually. This song originally appeared in the 1966 Pink Songbook. It was number 19. And then it reappeared in the Brown Songbook as number 220. It is perhaps one of the most bizarre melodies ever composed. I would like to give a special shout out to viewer Rainy Days for reminding me of which song this actually was, because I had been racking my brain trying to remember anything about the theme or the lyrics or anything about this song. All I could remember was the melodic insanity. This song is supposed to be Hawaiian. Once again, I think someone was trying a little too hard to rip off South Pacific. You know, the musical. The old recordings of this song had some ukuleles and lots of strings and stuff, but the orchestra really couldn't do very much to help this one. I get that it was supposed to have a lilt, like a Hawaiian sort of feel to it, but to me it always just sounded like somebody stumbling drunk, you know, a drunken pirate. You're gonna hear it in a minute. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, da 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 da. And this, you know, there's these really jumpy high notes. It's like when you're really drunk when you're like 21 and you think you're walking straight, but then you run into the door frame and spill your grog. It's really it's a totally drunken song. Appropriate, wouldn't you say? Also, the apostrophes have laid siege to this song. You'll see. There are a few interesting changes because this song actually appeared in the 1984 songbook as well, but it does not appear in the 2017 songbook. In fact, the word paradise doesn't appear in the 2017 songbook. I find that very interesting since that's supposed to be the reward, right? That's the dangling carrot. That's the whole freaking point of this entire religion. But anyway, let's look at the song, shall we? Singing the 1984 version, here we go.
Wondrous Jehovah, God, we praise you for our spiritual paradise, where we by study, prayer, and meetings get assistance to be wise.
Well, I always wanted to be spiritual, didn't you? In the 1966 version, the first word is gracious. And I wonder what changed between 1966 and 1984 that made Jehovah wondrous rather than gracious. Maybe gracious is a little too close to grace, which is a concept that the Jehovah's Witnesses do not acknowledge and a word that they do not use. Probably. But let's get real for a second. Spiritual paradise, are they freaking serious? Being a Jehovah's Witness quite literally crushes your spirit. It is not a spiritual paradise. It is an abusive, miserable, exhausting mental space in which nothing is ever good enough. And you can never, ever, ever catch a break. Okay. In the second line, they replaced a decidedly unlyrical in which by study and by meetings we are aided to be wise, with a slightly more palatable, but not much, where we and get assistance. I still don't find the phrase get assistance to be very lyrical, but compared to the second verse, it's downright Shakespearean. But consider the wisdom that we were assisted to attain: shunning family members, refusing life-saving medical treatments, staying in abusive relationships for fear of repercussions for leaving, effectively condoning child molestation by not reporting it to the police, not saving for retirement, not getting an education. I could go on and on and on with this wisdom, but we haven't made it to the first verse, and there's a lot more song to hear, so I'm going to quit now.
Oh, let us give thanks for how greatly we're blessed, and how in your service we have joy and rest.
Now that is a damn lie. In my 18 years as an active Jehovah's Witness, I found neither joy nor rest. In fact, as a Jehovah's Witness child, I was chronically sleep deprived because at least 2 nights a week I was at the Kingdom Hall until at least 10 p.m. because my father was an elder and we never left the meetings when they were over. There was always an elders meeting or a judicial committee or some kind of crap that we had to sit there and wait on. And then there was family study and preparing for meetings and preparing for service and field service itself and Kingdom Hall cleaning, and the list goes on and on and on. There was no time for anything real, anything non-religious. So rest, that's a freaking joke. We were all so frazzled and exhausted and afraid to say so because we didn't want to get counseled or have anyone see that we were not as happy as we were supposed to be. In fact, we were miserable most of the time. In 1966, we appreciated how greatly we were blessed, while in 1984, we gave thanks for it. Give thanks does actually work better with the melody. I'll give them that.
True love for you and for our neighbor is the strongest bond of all. How it unites us in your service so that we may never fall.
So have you noticed that there's an ongoing theme in these songs about not falling? I'm beginning to wonder if the chief Jehovah's Witness songwriter had broken a hip at some point and was scarred for life. I mean, and true love for our neighbor is also a very interesting concept. If you're thinking of true love in the Disney sense, keep on walking. But by true love here, they mean placing watchtowers, and by neighbors, they mean potential Jehovah's Witnesses.
Administration of your justice, you have given Christ the King. At your right hand since his enthronement, he rules over everything.
Why are we singing about administration? Who sings about administration? Seriously. And here's something I have always wondered about. If Jesus actually did invisibly return in 1914, or whenever they're saying he did it now, and has been ruling since then, how can they still talk about Satan's system of things and how the world is in the power of the wicked one? If Jesus is here and he's ruling already, then what gives? Is he just a particularly inept ruler? I mean, he must be. 1914 was a long time ago. I'm just saying. And why do they have to apostrophize everything? It's not like people go around saying everything. It's just not necessary.
We praise you, Jehovah, for having made known your wonderful purpose to gather your own.
And where's the rest of the sentence? Gather your own what? Mushrooms? Thoughts? Bees? I mean, or is this like a very thickly veiled drug reference? Are they growing their own somewhere? I mean, that sure would have made the meetings more bearable to me.
Oh, may our conduct e'er prove worthy of the good news that we preach, so that at no time will we stumble, sheep like ones we seek to teach.
Yes, indeed. May our conduct prove worthy of the good news, which is that God is going to murder 99% of the world's population in cold blood. Guys, that is not good news. And what sort of conduct exactly is worthy of that message? Also, I know we heard the word stumble used this way all the time at the Kingdom Hall, but did anyone ever realize that it's not grammatically correct? Stumble, the verb, means to trip or lose one's balance, as in, I stumbled, but I didn't fall. Stumble, the noun, means the act of stumbling, as in, that was a stumble, not a dance step. But y'all, you cannot stumble someone else. You can trip someone else and cause them to stumble, but saying, I stumbled him, or he stumbled me, is just wrong. Unless you're in a cult that likes to appropriate random words and imbue them with new slightly wacky meaning. In fact, the pure language, as they used to term their cult vocabulary, is chock full of crap like this. Loaded words and phrases that mean something else to the initiated. Or else they use really archaic expressions like brought out, like as you brought out. They use that regularly in conversation. Or the phrase sheep-like ones, or such ones, or name your adjective ones. You can almost always identify a Jehovah's Witness or a former Jehovah's Witness by the way they use these phrases, because nobody else in the real world talks like that. Not ever. Ooh, there's another video idea. The very odd vocabulary of Jehovah's Witnesses. I need to write that down. That would be a good one.
After the battle of the great day of Jehovah has been fought, and both the devil and his demons to the deep abyss are brought.
Could it be Satan?
Then your ancient servants from tombs will arise to serve you with gladness in earth's paradise.
This sounds a little too much like the zombie apocalypse for comfort. I always wondered how the resurrection would actually work. In the pictures and all the publications, these people were all clean and nicely dressed and running toward each other through a field or something. But if they've been dead for years, their clothes and probably all of their bodies, but a few bones, are long gone, right? So how exactly is this supposed to work? I digress. Here's a fun change from 1966 to 1984. In 1966, the ancient servants will serve as princes, right? By 1984, they will serve with gladness. What changed? Now, obviously, the witnesses had figured out by the 1940s that the princes were not, in fact, coming back, because that's when they sold Beth Sarum. If you don't know what Beth Sarum is, then Google it. It is a fascinating and frankly hilarious story. But they were still princes in 1966. I wonder what they did, posthumously and unconsciously, to merit the demotion. I would love to know.
They will help all men reach perfection through the priesthood of your Son. Then here on earth, too, time indefinite, lasting joys from you will come.
So, in 1966, all men would reach perfection under these princes. But by 1984, they would just help all men reach perfection. From rulers to helpers. But did you notice that in both instances they only mention men reaching perfection? Surely there was a way to be more inclusive here, don't you think? I mean, I bet I could do it in 5 minutes. In fact, then your ancient servants from tombs will arise to serve you with gladness in earth's paradise. All men and women reach perfection through the priesthood of your Son. See? It's not that hard. Oh, but wait. We can't have women doing anything through the priesthood. No. Okay. There is no reason at all to ever apostrophize the word indefinite. And there is way too much passive voice here. Let's rearrange it and see if we can make it make a modicum of sense. Lasting and to-time indefinite in the same sentence is kind of redundant. So let's just get rid of time indefinite, shall we? Lasting joys. Okay, I think joys is dumb too, so lasting joy will come from you to mankind. Still clunky, not at all lyrical, but not particularly true. But at least it sort of makes sense, right? Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we throw this whole song out and write one that actually makes sense? Okay, have a good night, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
Administration of your justice, you have given Christ the King. At your right hand since his enthronement, he rules over everything. We praise you, Jehovah, for having made known your wonderful purpose to gather your own. Oh, may our conduct e'er prove worthy of the good news that we preach, so that at no time will we stumble, sheep like ones we seek to teach.